Not yet, but we were about to.
That would have been a good introduction.
Well, here's a real introduction.
Yeah.
Hey now, hey now, hey now. Folks, this is John Duffin. This is Zach Carlin from Summit Chasers Network. And when you see that signal, you know something good's about to happen, right? So we welcome each and every one of you, whether you are watching us on Facebook Live. Hey, welcome to all our Facebook Live crowd. Live or on replay, we love you. If you are watching on LinkedIn live or on replay, we right here. And if you have a comment, if you're showing up live for us, that's great. If you happen to have a comment, drop it in the comments. We actually see them and respond. And in that way, we know you're here, right? Mm-hmm. Just makes it feel more collaborative, more together. Zach, how would you describe what the heck it is that we're actually doing?
We're having fun, John. We're providing value. Yeah. We're providing value, insights. We're solving problems and challenges. No, so every week on Tuesday, we meet with a couple of case studies that are submitted by somebody from the audience, from the community. Could be you. Next time, submit your, whether it's a case study, a question, a challenge that you have. We come here and we discuss it. We break it down and give you some valuable, hopefully, I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure they're mostly valuable insights on how you can overcome them, maybe see them from different angles, and leave you walking away from this webinar feeling like you can take on the world and you can overcome some of these challenges.
I think that's perfect. By the way, I've seen the replay to some of these shows, and I can vouch just by watching the replay, we've delivered great solutions.
That's an unbiased opinion.
Ourselves. They're brilliant. Other people have said it too, but I can tell you firsthand, I've loved them. And the nice part is, as I said, we do this in real time. We make it simple. We make it fun. The fact is, if we're hitting all the marks, my hope is that tomorrow when you go to work, you're just a little bit smarter. Maybe you're a little bit more confident, a little more self-assured. That old adage, that 1% better. And I know that gets frustrating when everybody is barking at you. If you're just 1% better and you're like, well, I don't know. Here's a great opportunity to make sure that you're 1% better, is to keep checking us out like Tommy Kenyon does, right?
There he is.
He's got to be at least 3 or 4% better based on the fact that Tommy Kenyon tends to show up here every week. Yeah. And the nice thing is, look, the case studies come from you. The solutions come from us. It is highly interactive. If you are agreeing with what we are putting down, great. I love it when people agree. That's just a nice thing. But if you don't agree, jump in. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your recommendations. We don't have each and every answer. We have most of them.
Well,
I feel like, right?
That's why we do it together. So
we have a really lot. On the off chance if we miss one or some, that's where we need you, okay? So that's where it becomes very important. So tonight is a great night because Zach Carlin really came up big. And the Summit Chasers community, the Summit Chasers Network community actually came up with 2 case studies. Not one, but 2. And so really going to work hard here because we got two specific cases to bring to the table that we're going to do, and as I said, in real time. So I hope I say this right. Without further ado, I just like to make sure I hit the French mark right. We're going to go to the first case study. All right. Hold on.
All right, we're going to start here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'll start with Emily. So first of all, thank you, Emily, for sending this in. Met her in Arkansas, actually. She runs a digital marketing agency, so she sent this one in. So I run there's actually just 2 of them that run a digital marketing agency, and they've had a ton of new clients lately in a very short period of time, which is great, but it's also overwhelming. We're struggling to manage the workload, maintain the quality of our services that we really want to be known for, and keeping from burning out. I'm worried that that his seemingly awesome thing, or that this thing seemingly,
This
maybe I
seemingly
should start spell checking these before I just copy and paste them. I'm worried that this seemingly awesome thing could hurt us more than help us. Well, Emily, first of all, great case study, great question. And I see these a lot with especially businesses, small businesses, and they're growing really, really fast, and they express these struggles. And you see, especially if they're around other business owners who maybe aren't growing as quickly, and they just roll their eyes like, "Oh, what a great problem to have. Poor you." Well, I would say, to be honest, the problem or the issue, the challenge of growing rapidly, unknowingly, maybe too quickly, I would say is sometimes more detrimental than not growing quick enough. Because there's a lot to it. First of all, you burn out. You have more likely to burn out. And it's kind of that silent, not so silent, maybe more of like a mysterious hidden killer for a lot of businesses, because you think, okay, I'm just going to work harder. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, right? Because obviously it's working because I'm busy. And you keep going, and then your product, the quality of your product or your service starts to go downhill a little bit because you're starting to get burned out. People on your team are burnt out, and then bad reviews start coming in, right? Then you get less busy, less people coming in because they're seeing these reviews, right? They're seeing the quality of work is declining, and you start to go downhill. Now, this is affecting your long-term viability. It's affecting how people see your brand, right? It's affecting your reputation. And this obviously is very hard to come back from. Gaining the public's trust again is difficult. So I'm saying all this just to validate
the point.
Validate that it is a big challenge. It is a big challenge for a lot of businesses who are growing really quickly. Now, my first step for you, Emily, and for anybody else kind of going through that rapid growth period is, first of all, why are you growing so fast? And there's a lot of businesses, actually, there's a lot of case studies of this very thing during COVID, or just kind of after. I don't know when COVID started and ended, to be honest, but during some time when everybody was getting a bunch of money from the government, everyone was getting thousands of dollars, businesses were getting thousands of dollars. So people had more money to spend. Seemingly, they thought they had more money to spend. So they were spending more frivolously. So their buying patterns were changed. Their buying patterns were temporarily disrupted. So if there's something like that going on in your market, maybe it was during COVID, or maybe it's something else going on, right? There's a change. There's a temporary change in your markets, your ICPs, buying patterns. And if that's the case, then this spike is temporary, in which may have to make a different decision. Could be did you have a competitor that went out of business and everybody's coming over to you, or a competitor that just dropped the ball? Maybe they were getting too busy, and then their reputation went way down. Everyone's leaving them to come to you, or whatever it is. We have to figure out why. And ideally, in a perfect world, it's because you've been consistent, you've stuck with a sound strategy, and because you are a marketing firm, I'm sure that you've stuck with the importance of a solid, consistent marketing strategy, full funnel marketing strategy. So is it just that momentum, the dam, so to speak, has finally broken, and now you have this big influx of clients, and now it's on a flywheel? You just have to keep doing what you're doing on the front end, the acquisition end of getting these clients. You have to keep doing what you're doing. In that case, this might be a little bit more consistent. Then that's a different decision than if it's just a quick spike, or is it a consistent flywheel? So first we have to find that out. John, do you have anything to add?
Oh, for this very specifically, I would say, let me pull up the case study again, not so I can read it out loud, but there's something on here. There's a great clue. There's two, as a matter of fact, that I happen to like a whole lot. So it literally begins with, I run a little, just two of us, right? And I love the fact that you're talking about this, and I wanted to read through because I love the fact that the short amount of time, which is great, and we got a ton of new clients, we're struggling, we really want to be. Here's the thing. I love when you say we're struggling, after you're struggling to manage it, it's to maintain the quality of our services that we really want to be known for. So it is so important to me in the very beginning. So it's obvious. We want to be known for what? So obviously you know what it is. My first thought to you is not why does that matter? It does matter, and that's more than good enough. But do you know how or what is the skill set specifically for either of you or the both of you that makes that happen? Because it was the first thing I thought of was so often with small organizations, 2 people, 1 people. In my case, when I began, it was me and a freelancer. You're just so damn happy and all the pieces just like jumbled together. And I can remember like the job was first job I got, and it was early and it was great and everything happened. But if you had asked me, okay, so what exactly happened here? Walk me through the process. I barely could have. Oh, it's great. And then it was great. And then we got it. And then it was great. But it's the articulating what exactly happens. For me, I started as a voiceover company. What did I have to do? I had to be able to chop down and edit a script. I had to be able to tell a story verbally. I had to take direction. I had to work in real time live with a director. I had to have a studio that was ready to go. But could I have articulated all of that at one time? No, because I was just so damn happy that everything was going, which is fine for your first couple of jobs. But when things start to snowball, you really have to be able to identify, what am I good at? And a 2-person team, what am I good at? What are they good at? Hopefully it's not the exact same thing, because you got to be able to delegate a little bit here. So right off the bat, there's only 2 of you. You identify each other's strengths. Take an hour, take a Saturday, walk away from the job for a couple of hours and identify, I'm really good at this. They are really good at that. To do a really good job for a client, because we've had a few of them now, what exactly goes on? Are we doing the exact same job? That's not good, because the fact is we should be playing to each other's strengths. So my thought is you got to be able to identify what makes the job good, what makes the process good. Lay out the process. If you have to, again, walk away for a Saturday to figure that out, lay it out, and then realize what pieces are you missing. And then you either hire for the job. Like I said, if it's hiring freelancers, this person does this. They're better in receiving. They're better in accounting. Find freelancers to handle responsibilities rather than that burden of I've got to find full-time team members. But before you do any of that, identify what makes a good job. What is this? The quality of the service that we want to be known for. Know exactly what it is and what are the systems and processes. Z's. I never say that word right. What are the systems and processes that get you to that job well done? That's what I would have.
No, and I think that's great advice, is to understand, and this is one thing that we do with some of our clients too, especially the founder, when they're kind of defining their own role, because you get into a spot like this, your role isn't very defined. Where are your strengths? How do we leverage them? Where do I put my time? That type of stuff. A lot of it's not, it's all over the place, because you're the founder. You have to be the jack of all trades, and especially even if there's 2 of you, right? There's still so much that goes into it. You're really not, you don't have that defined role. But one thing I would really do, so after, you kind of, okay, this is why, it's growing so much, but either it doesn't really matter why it's growing so quickly right now, or why there's such an influx right now. You can still leverage this. Whether it's just a quick peak, you can still leverage it to grow. And this is a good time, especially if it's the first time you've experienced this as a founder, as a new business owner, is to get really, really clear on what type of business you want to own. What type of business do we want? What type of life do I want to live? Because then you really, there's more than 2 options here, but really, to make it simple for right now, you have low volume, high quality. There's one option. High volume, moderate, pretty good quality. Right. For now, that's kind of your 2 choices. And then at that point, it's we jack up our prices, we jack up our value proposition, and we go for less volume, but really high quality and really high perceived value.
Right.
That's one way to scale, right? Especially doing it consistently. And then the other way is we want to be able to offer more, more services. We want to be able to offer more products. Well, I want to branch into other states and I want to go global type of thing. Like if that's what you want, as Walter White said in Breaking Bad, I'm not in the meth business. I'm in the empire business. If that's your attitude, let's go. Well, let's go. But you have to be really clear on that, because those are two very different decisions, and those are two different, not very different, but they're very different. They're fairly different ways that you can start to leverage this growth that you have right now. Right now, let's say, I think either way, the next thing is do exactly what you said to do, which was define, okay, put everything out there, take inventory, of what your responsibilities are. Right. And then, most of the time it's okay. There's a lot of administrative stuff that takes up a lot of my time and bandwidth. There's a lot of this stuff that is, low to moderate value activities that would be easily teachable. If I said, put a process in place, let's put those things aside, define and create a job description, right? And success metrics around that, and then bring somebody in to take on those. Either way, whether you want to do low volume, high value, or if you want to do high volume, moderate value, right? I think that'd be the next step. That'd be the next big step, and really kind of define what your role is, where the most high value and most high value activities that you have to do. So what do you have to do, and what are you best at? What do you like to do the most? And then do what you can to get your priorities and your focus there. Right. Other thing I would kind of do after that too is processes. Now you have the role that you can delegate, right? And this is what a lot of marketers are like this, where there's the stuff that they don't necessarily like to do on the front end, are very process driven. They're step-by-step written out. They can run on its own basically. But especially, and I know Emily she's very, very creative. She loves what she does, and we fall in love with our product or our service. So they try to take on everything themselves, and everything lives up here, right? Everything lives up here. So and because it lives up here, it's not processed out. Somebody couldn't come in, even if they are very strong in marketing and creative, they wouldn't necessarily be able to replicate what they do, right? Because it all lives up in their head, because they are so passionate about it. They have that love affair. They hold it close to their chest, right? That's their product. That's their baby. That's what they're known for. But as much as you can, get that process and system laid out. Get it laid out so that you can possibly hand it to somebody else, and they could have a fairly good skeletal idea of what that process is. What makes your product and service so successful? And they have a pretty good idea and be able to come in when you do get to that point when you're hiring somebody and be able to see, oh, this is why everybody loves you. Oh, this is what makes it successful. This is the steps that you go through. Would you add anything?
I would say all of that to be so. And I will add one more thing. So in this specific case, we're working with two people. And let's say they're both creatives and they both just love what they do. And I'm making this up. I have no, that happens where it feels so organic and exciting. But then I want to just get practical for a moment. There's two of you. What if someone calls out sick? What if someone is not as slap happy as you on a given day, and you see this and they don't stay? You know what? This isn't exactly what I was thinking. And you're like out of your head because we thought two people, again, if you're lucky, this sounds awful, but I'll say it. 1 out of 2 marriages end in divorce. Right? You're asking a lot if you're already stating a situation that is troublesome. We're feeling this sense of overwhelm. We're so busy and we don't want what to do. Take advantage rather than put, hypothetical bad problems in. Take advantage of this situation now before this spirals out of control. Because you're already kind of putting up that white flag. Something's not great here. So this just signals the importance of the two of you communicating together. And if you want to make it as positive as possible, look, I love, if you want to just sit and give each other compliments over what you do, great, do it. But identify what each of you do well. And I don't mean to be repetitive, but it's identify what each of you do well. And if you want to position it as, it looks like we're going to continue to grow, so we are going to need things. It's like, okay, what would you see? Force each other to come up with growth pieces, because if you're both writing systems and processes manual, it's necessary, but maybe neither of you want to do it. But just do understand, you've got to explain it to someone other than the two of you at some point. Unless you want to stay in this overwhelmed situation, and not everybody loves that. You know, we've got a case study that's coming up after this where I feel like we're already starting to answer this, because the fact of the matter is the next person in may not feel quite as engaged as the two of you. And it's important to not continually hire and replace people, right? So if you're able to lay out the basics, what's a job well done? Here's the strengths. Here's what we have. Here's what we need. Here's how we can improve. Here's how we plan to scale. And here's how we plan to keep everybody happy internally and externally. And here's how we're going to communicate all of this.
And before we move on to that next case study, there's an objection that, and this is a lot of businesses, a lot of our clients, when they get to this point, this is a big objection that they have, is as we're focusing on putting these things in place, I feel like we're losing a bunch of business. So you have that scarcity mindset immediately of like, I need to get while the iron's hot, because this might not ever happen again. But that's why it's so important to identify early on, why are we growing this fast? Why is
Some
where
good.
are they coming from? Right.
Some is good.
Again, ideally, it's, it'd be nice if it was from that flywheel, right? Of you just doing the things consistently, the right things consistently over time, and the dam breaks, right? And there you go. That's not always the case. It could be a mixture of things as well. But first of all, identifying that, but also one kind of strategy, and this is especially for service-based businesses, but also product-based businesses as well, that they can do this as well, is you create what's called a deliverable flagship asset. Flagship asset. And that's just something, and a lot of you probably already have a flagship asset, which is something that is first of all, it's free. It takes up very cheap or free. It takes up very little of your time, right? And it gets them a result before they pay for the big thing, right? It gets them somewhere. But one thing that you can do, right, to keep people in your ecosystem, if you are worried about, and it's a valid worry about, okay, I have all these people coming in, there's all these prospects and leads coming in, I don't want to lose them. Well, if you create this flagship asset, it keeps them within your ecosystem while you're developing these processes and systems, or hiring somebody else in, or whatever it is, because you can't focus on all those things at once. So that flagship asset could be something. Communities are really good for that. Communities are really good, especially if you are in the marketing, brand marketing business, or any kind of type of marketing firm. That's a big one. For any kind of service-based coaching, consulting, whatever it is, communities are really good for that. So you're creating
like a Facebook group. A Facebook group, or
or if you get on School or Kajabi or whatever these other platforms are.
Kajabi,
and it doesn't take much, right, to be able to get a community in there. And maybe you run, once a week, you do a group call where you answer questions. You have some material that you can put in there that you already have created. Maybe just have to format it a little bit different, but create that flagship asset that keeps people in your ecosystem. So that if you're worried about all this influx, or maybe these leads that aren't ready to purchase right now, or whatever it is, you have something to give them, right? While you're putting all these other things in place, you're able to add value, bring in a little bit of income as well, add value to your community, add value to your prospects, and keep them within your ecosystem while you're developing all these other things. Right. But I would say that the scarcity mindset kills a lot of businesses, so many of them, because you think, okay, I just have to do this right now because this isn't going to happen again, right? You think every Christmas is the last Christmas, right? And although sometimes it's valid, right? Especially if you don't have proof of success prior, and if this spike is based on a market change and an economic struggles, or competitors down the street going out of business, whatever it is, I understand that. But you have a great opportunity to leverage this opportunity right now, this spike in clients, to over deliver with them, get great referrals, get great testimonials, and set that process up afterwards as well, so you can keep that flywheel going, or create a flywheel for you. But don't sacrifice the now for the later. Don't sacrifice the short term. Yeah. Don't sacrifice the short-term gains for the long-term success, right? And there's a lot that they put everything into this little spike right now. We got to get everything. I eat all the crumbs, right? And they don't focus on setting themselves with the foundation, setting themselves up for success long-term. And then they go out of business very shortly after, right? Or at least they struggle very shortly after. So I know it's easier said than done to not focus on the now, right? And focus on long-term, because long-term, sometimes it's fuzzy. You can't see it, especially if you don't have experience running businesses, or you don't have proof of success prior. But don't sacrifice the short term for setting yourself up for long-term wins.
Zach, it's funny because I think our whole deal is, I see you as a multifaceted threat, but really someone who builds the foundation of a business, builds from the ground up, literally. And I'm grateful to say that while building anything was never necessarily a strong suit of mine, but communicating what it is and the way that it should be happens to be a strength of mine. And I believe this specific case study is a classic example as to why you need both. That you need to know what the foundations are. And if you don't have them in the beginning and things are just going, that's okay, but you've got to get them. And so rather than wait until everything stops, like you said, I'm still a little sad about that last Christmas example, but it's real. It's real. So knowing that, it's know what the hell is going on. Invest the time, and I keep saying the same thing. If you need to literally walk yourself away on a Saturday morning, walk yourself away on a Monday night, and invest an hour or two outside of the nuts and bolts and getting things done, or all those cliches, we just make things happen. Walk away and spend a little bit of time uninterrupted figuring out what it is, and then at every opportunity, communicate it, whether it's just to the two of you in this case study, whether it's to a freelancer, a job filler, a potential new employee, whether you're looking to scale or articulate or write a book or whatever. Keep communicating it. There's a person that I keep referencing. His name is Lance Bachman. His whole deal is there are no secrets. Give people your playbook. Just give it to them. Because the fact of the matter is, as you're building and growing and scaling, holding everything so close to the vest is a mistake. Know it, scale it, allow your business to grow. The only way it can is that people have to help you. And the only way they're going to help you is they have to know how to help you. They just have to know how. And that's where you come in. And so as the leaders, if it's the two of you, invest the time to know what the hell's going on, so that when you need to explain it to somebody, let them in, let them in. And in that way, as I say, ultimately that's going to help you far more than everything staying close to you,
Yeah. Love it. So identify where this growth is coming from. Why is it happening to you? Why is this awesome thing happening to you? And then where should your priorities be, and how can I delegate to things where my priorities shouldn't be, right? Create processes, and I don't know why I'm doing that. Create processes and systems. Create processes and
Sorry.
systems for things that aren't systemized already, right?
Mhm.
Don't try to be the hero, right? Don't every business. I always say this: business owners, founders love to be Superman. They try to do everything,
Mhm.
try to solve all the problems. Don't be that. But I'll get all the systems out there, make everything teachable, make everything
Mhm.
replicatable, right? And then from there, you're ready to grow. You
You're
either
ready to
decide,
grow.
okay, I want to have a high value, lower volume business. I'm going
Mhm.
to create this flagship program asset that I can keep them in, that keep my community engaged and keep them engaged. And then while I'm doing that, I create maybe a kind of a scarcity effect where it's like, hey, in 2 months we're gonna have room for 2 more clients, right? And you build your business that way, right? Scarcity effect, higher perceived value, you can charge more. Now you don't have to have as much volume to make just as much money and to grow just as much. Or if you want high volume, then you need to have job descriptions. You need to start bringing people in right away to start taking these things off of your plate. You need to identify what that actually could look like. You need to make as much of your fulfillment in your service replicatable and teachable as possible at that point. Because now you need to hire people in. You need to identify other services that you could provide that stack and are very copacetic with your current services that you provide, and grow from there. But first, you got to decide. You got to figure out why it happened, and then what type of business do you want.
And then off you go.
Beautiful. All
And then
right,
off
case
you
study
go.
number 2.
Well, what about that? So love these as it's anonymous.
I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to call him out.
We're not going to out them as
I'm
well.
not going to call him out.
If they happen to be on the call, we're really not going to out them.
Yeah,
It's
no, we're
our
good.
little secret.
Yeah. So I run a software development firm, and it has been growing rapidly, but we can't seem to keep people. Some good developers and engineers leave for bigger companies offering better money. It's affecting our project timelines and overall team morale. We need help to improve employee retention and create a more attractive work environment. So you and I kind of talked about this one beforehand, and we were planning on being kind of direct, so to speak, with this one.
I think snarky was one of the words I used.
Snarky was a word that came out there.
Dear anonymous.
Yeah, dear John. So this is one of the things that when one of our pillars at Summit Chasers, especially for leaders and founders, business owners, is start with you. To start with you, leadership and personal development, and that includes taking responsibility for everything. So one thing that I will say is it is very, very, very likely that they are not leaving you for other companies for better money. They are leaving you for something different. They're leaving you to not work with you. That's being direct. That's most likely what it is. Most likely.
That's a little harsh. I was gonna.
It's harsh, but it is what it is. A lot, especially when you look at developers, and I have experience working with many software development companies, and especially those that employ 1099 developers. They're creatives. A lot of them are creatives. When they just want to come in, they want to work on their projects, they want to create something amazing, and then they want to move on to the next project. They don't want to be micromanaged, right? They don't want to be told. They don't want to be confined in such a box where they can't practice that creativeness, that innovation, right? They don't want to be in that box. They don't want to be micromanaged into only doing things one way, right? Very rarely do they leave just for money, right? A lot of them, if they are happy where they're at, they're able to do what they love, and they're treated right, and they're not confined in a box. Even if a bigger company came and offered them a couple more bucks an hour or per project, likely they won't leave.
I have to agree, and I was only kidding with the faces I was making. It's accurate. Look, what I was gonna say, first off, dear anonymous, thank you for that question. And dear anonymous, here's the thing: people leave for a reason, and when they don't know what else to say, Or if they don't really want to say things like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Nobody talks to me. I don't know what the whole purpose is. I'm walking into an office with everybody that's either working remotely or with headsets on, and no one's speaking to me, and I have no idea. It's easier for me to say I'm leaving for more money, and then I just have to hope you don't match it, because then I have a different problem. To me, they leave for a reason. I love when Zach just said it starts with you, and I'm right there, because I have been in my career a manager of a lot of people, a manager of a few people. I have been in my opinion, a terrible manager in the beginning, and then I became a better one with time and experience. The reason I say I was a terrible manager at one point wasn't because I was throwing things at people or hollering at people. I was so busy doing other things than being with my people that people would leave. And it's because I was just so busy doing other things that they weren't a priority. People feel that. And so, horrible lessons to learn. By the way, I had an exact example where somebody quit at lunchtime on their first day. Lunchtime.
Was it you? You were the one that quit on lunchtime.
No, they quit on me.
Oh,
they quit on me. So I had to get and they left a letter.
Oh.
Right? So I just had the letter. Nobody talked to me. And I'm dead serious. Nobody talked to me, and therefore I'm resigning.
Awful. Oh, that was their reason.
They said it. That was the reason, right? So try not to do that. But in all seriousness, this is why you hear people talk about culture and response. It really matters. You do not have to have all the answers. You do not have to put that kind of pressure on yourself. As a leader, you have to have some of the answers, because allegedly that's why you're the leader. And two, you have to be able to communicate them at some point, because sometimes that's all people want. Now, good working conditions, chances for advancement, a decent competitive wage, a foosball table, all things that could be great for an employee. But the main one is just a sense of knowing they belong, and they have a clear understanding as to what their role is and how they should be, doing it in order to meet or exceed expectations. And that's on you. That's on you. Clear, continuous, not micromanaging, but clear, continuous communications in regards to the big picture and where each person fits in. Because it should not be a continuous sense of resignations. I'm bringing this back up intentionally. That it's affecting the people all leaving for better money. It's affecting our project timelines and overall team morale. I'll bet. Must be a big old drag. Where's Bob? He's gone. Where's Mariana Arto? So you want to create a more attractive work environment? Do so. Absolutely do so. How? What the hell's going on? Where you fit in here? And what's in it for you when we hit the goals, exceed expectations? What's in it for them? I don't mean me. I'm saying what's in it for them, because that's what keeps people. That's what keeps people, is that they have a sense of purpose. What they do matters to somebody. To somebody, it matters. And there's a path for success or advancement, and they know what it is.
Yeah. No, there's a quote where it's in a small business, the biggest indicator of retention is the benefits of being around you. right? So the benefits of
I gotta love that. Yep.
What it's not necessarily like your 401k or healthcare. That stuff's great. That stuff helps big
Sure.
time. The benefits of how do you help them improve? How do you help them grow? How do you help them become better? How do you help them? All these types of things, right? And especially if you're in something like this, which is, if you're talking to a lot of engineers and developers and that kind of stuff, is are you putting them in a box? Are you confining them? Or are you letting them breathe and grow and be better? If you are doing that, they will not leave you for a couple extra bucks. They just won't, right? They see so much more value in it. So if you think of it in terms of that, what are the benefits of them being around me, right? What am I offering them as far as, my knowledge, experience, feedback, accountability, all those things positively? They're most likely going to stay, whether it's for more money or not, right? Another thing too, there's another one, I can't remember the quote, but another concept of, I would ask, what's your hiring process? And I had a client and somebody just quit, and they had issues with retention, especially in their outside sales team. And somebody quit, and I was like, why did they quit? And they were like, well, they were bad. They just sucked at the job. We just need to get them out. It was a good thing that they left, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. So how did somebody who sucked at outside sales get through your hiring process? So you're hiring people that suck then. So your hiring process sucks. They don't suck. They probably go somewhere else and be really, really good, especially if they got hired somewhere that was a good fit for them. So are you telling me that they suck, or does the hiring process suck? And they're like, I don't know what the hiring process is.
I don't know.
That's typically the answer.
I
know maybe what the process was for that particular hire, but that process was a lot different than this one. When we hired this person over here, and they were great, but we never did that again. Then we hired 10 other people, and none of them worked out because we didn't follow a tried and true sales process, or never even bothered to figure out what that successful process is. So I look at, how are you hiring them? And a lot of times I get it, especially you bring on, you sign up a new client and they have a big project, a big piece of software that you're developing for them, and it's huge, and you just need developers, you need engineers quickly.
Yes.
So you're just hiring people in. You're just bringing them in just to get bodies. Let's call it warm body syndrome, where you're just getting people in, right?
Right. Backsides and seats, and they don't bum that. Right.
I need somebody who knows how to put the one next to the two, and that's it, right? And then they finish that project, right? And there's no. And let's say they finish that project. The next project is a lot different than this project. It's handled a lot differently. It's not what they expected. It's not what was in the job description. They're going to leave. They're going to leave. It's just the way it is, right?
That's help. You're hiring help. I'm going to give you an example. Me on the other end. So I'll give you a personal example. Some point in my career, I won't say when, but I will see this happen to me. And so I took a position. Sales consultancy position, and love the prospects of it. And I remember having a great, lengthy, very personal interview with the hiring manager. And I'm going to tell you, in the 2 weeks that followed, we communicated, saw each other about 50 times. We communicated about 4 times. And each of those 4 times was me trying to follow up with something that wasn't resolved. And I quit as a result. I just resigned. And the reason that I did had nothing to do with more money. It had everything to do with, this is when you would get communicated with the most. In the beginning, this is when you should get communicated the most. And I got communicated with not at all, not even hellos, would walk past with nothing. And I never experienced it. And I thought, this is not going to get better. This is just simply not going to get better, because it doesn't. Somebody doesn't begin a process by not speaking to you, same person that hired me, and then all of a sudden want to start talking anymore. They don't. So whether I was right or wrong is irrelevant. But what happens is people leave for things like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way this is going to get better or improve, or, and I thought, no, I'm not staying. And so I didn't. And as I said, was it the right thing to do? I'm not sure. But when people say it's the little things are the big things.
Mm-hmm.
In that specific instance, little things. And this was the only person in that company of a series of managers, including the owner of the corporation. He's the only one that would let me walk past, or I would wave and he wouldn't acknowledge. The only one. Everyone else, hey, how's it going? You doing okay? And by the way, that's all I wanted or needed. That's all I wanted or needed was that. And I'm like, I remember thinking, but if something really matters, there's just no chance in the world that and so for a company, for this specific case study, right? And you don't know what it is, just what you know is that it's affecting team morale. I'm just going to say, damn right it is. And damn right it's gonna. So you got to know what this is exactly. Don't let one more person walk out. Because at that point, if that person, after I resigned, had said, I don't understand, or I wish you would know, or this is the way I act, or blah, 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 I probably wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to know. But you have these conversations when people arrive, right? Because immediately they're thinking, oh my God, what did I sign up for here? Jesus, what did I get myself into? You know? And so you're worried about your project timelines and your team morale. And it's like, and you want to, improve employee retention. Well, the way that you do that is communicate better. Simply communicate better.
Well, in order, and then the objection from there would be, I don't have time. And this is pretty typical with these types of businesses. And if this is who I think it is, they used to be a developer themselves. So they're coming at it from a developer mindset. And again, they have, similar to what I was talking about with Emily, was they have the love affair with their product and service. Right. You need to step away from that. You can't be, when you get to this size of your business, when you get to this level, this stage, it's very rare that you can still get away with effectively being the player coach. Like you can't be the one doing all the stuff and micromanaging and in there doing all the developing and working with the, doing the sales and all this kind of stuff and leading a team, right? At some point, it sounds like you're there, Mr. Anonymous, to like you need to back away and either decide, do I hire a coach? Do I bring this person in? Do you have somebody who you could? Maybe you have a co-founder with you that they could be that. And then you step in and you're only focusing on leading the development team? Or do you need to be the one that steps back and you be the coach? And then you have somebody who's been there with you longer, or somebody that you could coach up and develop up to be kind of your number two, to be your number two player coach type of thing. Right, but it starts there that's a big step for some people, but sometimes it takes one big step so you can do all the little things that add up to a big thing. Right. So you have to do the big thing. Right, that was a good analogy. That was good. Right?
That was really, even well said. Right,
that made sense. Right? Well, when I say good things, sometimes I'm like, "What was that me?"
There's a Verizon commercial where the person's playing the psychologist, who I love her, by the way. That's the very snarky psychologist, and she's like, "That would make a great book title." But all the little things that lead up to a big thing by Zach Garland.
That's it. Make sure we get that clip. And that big thing is, and we were talking about it before. Define your role. Your role. It sounds like the role is still really, really muddy. If you can't be that leader and understand what it takes to be that leader, to make them successful and to make them stick around and to be more successful, you have to be the coach. You have to be the leader. You can't be you can't be doing both, right? Your bandwidth, your focus. We only have so much that we can give and be effective, and you just can't. Especially if you have an influx of new clients, that means even more so that you need to be able to step back and orchestrate, as opposed to being in it. But I would exit interviews. Start doing exit interviews to find out why they're leaving, right? And I know that not all of them will do an interview, but a few of them will. A few of them will, and you'll get valuable insights. And especially if it's after the fact, things have cooled off, right? Maybe it's been a week. You do the exit interview. Maybe it's been a few days even. You do the interview, and their initial reason for leaving, they initially say, hey, I took an offer somewhere else for more money. They could say, look, I felt like I felt like I was in a box. I felt like I was being micromanaged all the time, or this isn't really what I initially signed up for. That means, is your job description that you're even putting up there consistent with what the job really is? Is your hiring process on point, right? You'll find out this person was never a good fit for our company. We have different projects all over the place. This person only works in this one specific area. They shouldn't have been hired, right? So your hiring process, really, 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 really look into your hiring process. And if that's something that needs to be more robustly developed, then that's another reason that you need to take yourself out of the game and onto the bench and start being the visionary coach, leader, right? As opposed to being in there all the time.
And it's the same thing. Or if that's not in your bandwidth, then you got to bring in someone else to be the coach. You've got a decision to make. You don't have to turn, like, some people really, not everybody, because you're a great salesperson or you're a great closer or means that you can progress up the managerial leadership. Not everybody can. And the mistake that some companies make and some individuals make is the sense that you need to ascend to that point. The fact is you don't. But if you want your company to grow, somebody has to do it.
And it's okay.
I don't think that's you. That's okay.
Put your ego aside. There was a great my fiance, she loves this company called Honor Active, and the owner of it, the founder of it, I think her name is Christy or Chrissy.
Okay.
But she realized, and her company is huge now. Like she's worth a lot of money. She's done amazing things. She actually has a book too. I'll look into her. I can't remember. It's Honor Active, but it's spelled Oner, so ONER Active.
Okay.
She just recently decided that I'm not a CEO. I'm the creative. I like to develop. I like to be the one creating the videos and the marketing and the product, this kind of stuff. I want to write the books and do all this kind of fun stuff. I'm not a CEO. And she hired a CEO. And since then, their company is more profitable, bigger than it ever could have been.
And not to sound like a wise guy. So what's the problem? You know what I mean? Big honking success. She gets to do what she loves to do. And the company's a monster. And that's the decision. So there's no value judgment with these sorts of things, but somebody has to do that. Wait a minute. We got an expert that just chimed in here. Hold on.
She loves her. She loves.
There you go. Honor Active, and it's Chrissy. Is it Sella? Thank you, Audrina. But that's great. That to me is, and by the way, that's the mark of a true leader. That's the mark of a true leader to me, is knowing what the hell you're good at. Like, so the whole theme that we've been carrying tonight, that sense of you have to know, like, if you're that company that's doing really well and it's all kind of just happening, but you're all too busy, well, you're good at something, obviously. Good on you. Right. And if there is shortfalls in terms of whether it's your company culture or people are leaving and you don't know why, most of these things are fixable. And the good news and the scary part, in a sense, is that it's all the same, which is you just simply have to know. You have to know what you're good at. You need to know what your process is so that if somebody has a question, you can answer it. If somebody says, so how does it work around here? You can tell them. You could show them, and they could get some sense of, oh, that's cool. I could do that. Or I don't know if this is a good fit for me because that's not really what I like. And wouldn't you rather know that up front? And so to me, it's the sense of, rather, if you feel like you need to take on all the jobs, that's not necessarily a great thing. You know, unless you're a one-person company. And that's where it's like, I definitely want to check out Owner Active. I really do. I think that's just really, to me.
Yeah, they got good stuff. And that's one thing that we do with our enterprise clients. We create that playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Like a playbook, literally a book or PDF these days, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Kids want to use these days. A playbook, you should be able to hand it to somebody or email it to somebody, whatever, and they should be able to go through it and have a very good idea if they're going to have a future here, if they're going to be successful here, if they're going to fit here, if all these types of things. Just a really clear idea so that they're figuring that out, you're figuring it out very early on.
Take the guesswork out, you know.
But you have to take the time to do that. What is the definition of somebody who is successful here and somebody who's not? If I'm hiring for a manager, what is the definition? What do they need to accomplish? What would be their MO for the first 6 months that they're here? And then what are the attributes that we need in order to accomplish that? Let's go find this person and let's create the hiring process to make that happen. Right. But if you don't do any of that, you're just firing at the hip, warm body syndrome. People are going to leave, low morale, and then you're where
we just do it. I worked at a company, and we would take on a lot of projects, and we had a project manager, and the project manager's response to every challenge was exactly the same. Now, for the first maybe 40 or 50 times, they answered the same question, which is you give them a situation, whatever case study, you would just give it to them. And their answer would be the same, which was, don't you worry, we just make it happen around here.
Yeah.
So the first several times, I'm like, well, that's awesome. We just make it happen. When I realized they weren't making it happen, and I would be like, all right, apparently we have different definitions of we just make it happen. So, and then you learn they said that because they didn't know what the hell was going on. They just, some random thing.
That's a cop-out answer.
But it was just some cliched and so it's a case where someone should be able to explain it to you rather easily, right? It's great that people would and they do, and it's beautiful, a playbook with 500 pages, but if they could explain it to you in 5 minutes, here's the basic blueprint. I can get as granular as you need, but here's the basic idea. Here's where you fit or this department fits. This is why we're speaking to you. You should see a light go off in someone's eyes. Oh, I could do that, or I would like to do that. They're the people that you want, and they don't leave as often as long as you remain true. If circumstances change, if the playbook changes, if the blueprint changes, no problem, because they all do. That's okay. The only thing as a leader you would need to do is include them in on the changes.
Yeah.
They don't need to be part of the decision making. They simply need to know, oh, we're not doing this anymore. Now here's what we're doing, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then
go all day. I could go all day on process optimization, but yeah, it changes. But yeah, we'll get into that in another case study.
We'll say it for another case study. But the fact of the matter is, again, people don't write these as if you are writing them in stone, and don't put that pressure. The two-person company, don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. And lastly, I'll make a suggestion. Whether you're a two-person company, a one-person company, this large-scale company, or anywhere in the middle, and you need help with this sort of thing, well, then maybe you talk to Zach Harlan at Summit Chasers Network, who might be able to take that pressure off of you. Maybe if you want the message communicated, you talk to a Duffin Media, I don't know, and take that pressure off of yourself. But there's people that could help you. But the real fact of the matter is you can help yourself by keeping it simple so that people understand, and you can have not just a productive work environment, a profitable work environment, but an environment that's fun and people want to be around. And if you can just make that happen, then maybe you bring that to work tomorrow and make that a better place,
Maybe. Why not? You spent an hour
Right?
with us. You might as well do something about it.
Right, exactly. Why not? Brother Matt, is there anything else you think we should cover while we're here?
I think that we covered the whole floor as far as these two case studies go. So, yeah, there's lots more that we could, but I digress.
There's no reason for you to digress. Zach Carlin, it is absolutely, God, I'm starting to slur. It has to be time to break this up. Zach Carlin, it's always a pleasure. I'll get out the word absolutely. It is always a pleasure to be with you. And for everybody that joined us live, Tommy, Kenny, and Audrina, and everyone else, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, we thank you so, so much for joining us. Keep watching. You'll have the replay here. And as I said, take us to work anytime you want. Maybe we smarten you up a little bit. So thanks for joining us. Be well. We get to come back here again next week, you say?
Mm-hmm. Same time.
I love it. Folks, thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and we will talk soon. Bye.